Um, Today we'll be looking at the collections, and then we'll be looking at the following subtopics. We'll be looking at the arrays and legacy collection and new collection API and the benefits of the new collection API. And we'll be looking at the hierarchy of the new collection, and lastly at the iterator. What is an array? An array is a container object that holds a fixed number of values of a single type. The length of an array is established when the array is created. After creation, its length is fixed. So your array is a container of object that holds a fixed number of values of a single type, and you will need to specify or indicate the length or the amount of items that your container would be able to hold. So I would like to show you the syntax of an array. So to define an array, you will need to specify the data type. In our case, we'll say int, and you have your square bracket there immediately after the type, and then you give it a name. Say int arrays, and then you have your keyword new there, and then int like that, and then to specify the length, you do it on the square bracket on the right hand of the equal sign like this. So this is how you define your array. But there is another syntax that you can employ to create your array. So the syntax goes like this. You still have your data type like that, int, and then you don't indicate the square bracket just yet. You have your name, int, we call it array, int array, maybe 2, and then after the name, that's where you will indicate the square bracket, and then you still have your new keyword this side, and like this, and then the length of the array like this. This is how you would create your arrays. However, the first syntax is the most preferred, so we would also advise you guys to employ the first syntax when you are creating your arrays in your projects. But how do, by the way, how are we using the keyword new when we are working with primitive? Because we know that the new keyword, we use it when we're trying to create objects of classes, and we know that int is a primitive data type, and you can't have an object out of it. This is possible only because your JVM understand the square bracket to be creating an array, and it will dynamically create an object of integer, because you are working with int. So it will create an object of an integer dynamically for you, so you don't need to worry about creating it for yourself. So that's why you are able to use the new keyword there, because the JVM will then create an object of an integer dynamically for you. But how do we insert data on our array? So to do that, you will need to call your array by name, and then you indicate the index in which you want to insert your data within the array. In this case, we want to enter our data on index 0, and then the value is 1, or the data. So to enter the second value, we do the same thing, the name and the square bracket, and we want to insert it on index 1, so the value is 2. Similarly, for value 3, we do the same thing. We do the same thing like that. If I run this code, I expect no exceptions, no compiler complaining, nothing like that. So if I run it, nothing fails, everything is fine. But say if I enter the fourth value and say index 3, value 4, if I run this, I will get an exception called arrays out of bounds exception, simply because we are entering the fourth value on an array in where we indicated that the array can only be able to hold 3 values or 3 items, and now we are now giving it the fourth value. It does not have space for that, so hence the exception. So if I run it, we have your exception there for that reason. So there is a way to write this in one line to create your array like this, and then to insert your values or your item within one line. So to do that, you'll still need to indicate your type int, and then your square bracket there immediately after the type, and then you give it a name array. Let's just say int again array. Let's just say int array 3, and then you have your equal sign there, and you have your curly curly brackets there, and then you have your items 1, 2, 3, and that's it. This line essentially replaces all of this code. But then you can use this syntax when you know your values in advance. When you have your items in advance that you want to store in your array, it's advisable to use this syntax because essentially it's the same thing as the above. So to prove that this is the same thing as this, if I try to insert value 4, say value 4, so value 4 is within index 3, value 4, I'll have that exception again. As you can see, we have that exception again. How so? Because here we didn't indicate the length. But when you enter your values or your items, the amount of items, they become your length as well. So we have item 1, 2, 3. You have 3 items within your array. Then your array will have length 3. This is how it works. But if I enter another item, say item 6, within this array, now this array will have length of 4. If I run this code, this exception will go away because of that reason. Boom. So this is how it works. But then how can I output my elements within my array? So to do that, you will employ an object called arrays. We'll go back to our slides, and we'll go to the following slides, and you have these arrays within your Java util. So this class contains various methods for manipulating arrays, such as sorting and searching. This class also contains a static factory that allows arrays to be viewed as list. The methods in this class also all throw a null pointer exception if the specified array reference is null, except where noted. So if I were to show you this object in a code, it will look like this. So the object is within Java util, as we have said, and it has a various helper method that so you have your various method here like sort, and many others to help you manipulate your array. So the one method that we're interested in is called toString. So if we read here at the Java doc, it will tell us that this method returns a string representation of the contents of the specified array. So the string representation consists of a list of the array's elements enclosed in a square brackets. So this is what this method does. So we want to use this method to output our elements. So we will go back to our class, and we will say system.out.println, and we will employ that object arrays and to string, and we'll pass in our array. So if we run this, we will then output our array like that. Similarly, on this array, we can do the same thing, and we can output this array by employing that arrays object like that to string, and then array array 3 like that, and if we run it to output it like that. So this is how it would work. So we have what we call multi-dimensional array. So it's your array within an array, nested arrays. How do you define that? How do you define them? To define them, you would still have your data type int as an example, and then your square bracket, and then of the first array, and then another bracket for the second array, and then you give it a name again, int, or let's just say d for dimensional array, and then you still have your new keyword there, and then int square bracket, and then you specify the length 2, and then you specify the columns 3 of the second. So the second array in this case is your column, and then your first array, it will be your rows. So to insert data is quite similar to how you inserted data on the normal array. So you have your name of the array, your column, which is your row, which is the first array, and then row 0, and then on column 0 as well, you want to insert value 3, say, and then to enter another data, you will say on row 0, column 1, say you want to enter value 12, and then just duplicate this guy, and then row 0, column 3, you want to enter value 2, row 1, column 0, you want to enter 8, and then row 1, column 1, you want to enter value 9, and then row 1, column 2, you want to enter column value 12, because duplicates are allowed in arrays. So if we run this, this guy will run fine. Same thing. Array out of bound, I might have made a mistake. So the mistake that I made, see this 3 here, it should be 2. Sorry, it should be 2 there, because we indicated that we have 3 values. Our array can only accept 3 values. So if I run it, I expect no issues. Boom, it works. No issues. But to output these elements in our dimensional arrays, we will still employ that arrays object, but a different method this time, called deep to string, and then we pass in our array. So D array, we called it. So if we run it, we should expect those guys to output there, and then boom, it outputted. Say we remove these two values here, and then what would you expect is that these guys will be replaced with zeros, because we have indicated the space. The space doesn't change, it will be there, but it will be filled with default values of the type. So to be filled with zeros, default values of int or integers are zeros. There we go, zeros here. So you can have your arrays of any object, really. You can create an object of string. So to do that, you will say string, a square bracket, give it a name, string array, and then new string array, and then indicate the length like that. You have created your array. To insert data is still the same thing, 0 like that. You have your a there. This is how you would insert data, similarly to how you did with int. This is how you insert your data. You can also have that syntax again, where you had your string, your square bracket like that, and then string array, and then you call it 2. Then you have your curly brackets there, and then you have your a. You have your a there, b, and then c, like that. So you can have your arrays out of any type, so double and so forth, and even the object that you create yourself, you can have your arrays. So because of time, we will end here, and then we'll continue with our collection framework on the next session. Thanks.